Let you know the progress. Okay, it's a new day, gorgeous, beautiful day out here. It's warm, so I'm gonna really try to get this thing out. At this point, I have finally gotten the air intake completely out. See, I got it laying right there. I was able to get the throttle body off. So just pretty much now trying to get down just to the meat and potatoes of the engine. I've got to still remove the power steering pump. Although I think I might just, I don't know if I can just disconnect the hoses to it as opposed to removing the whole thing. I mean, I got to take it. I guess I got to take it off, put it on the new engine I bought anyway. So got to pull that off and disconnect these lines, and then disconnect the engine from the transmission and then from the engine mounts, and I should be good to go. Make sure you keep up with your bolts if you plan on reusing them in your next engine, especially if your replacement engine doesn't have the bolts already in it for you to use as a reference. I've got 3 here that I believe they came off of my fuel rail, but the weird thing is they're all different sizes. I've got a bolt missing. I think it's somewhere in here. I've got this one right here. I'm not exactly sure where I put it, and so all of those over there are all the same size for the most part. Thankfully, on my engine that I bought, it's already got the air intake on it. So, although I think this engine right here that's coming out, it looks to be in better shape than the one I bought. Supposedly the one I bought's only got 97,000 miles on it. But after doing some research on the internet, I'm starting to question my mileage. You know, anytime you buy a replacement engine, make sure that you get as much documentation as you possibly can if you want to be able to resell your vehicle confidently, unless you don't plan on mentioning that your engine was replaced. But anyway, so that's what's going on at this point. This is the 4.7 liter V8. The bolts, once I get done with this video and I start putting everything back in, I'll go through and give you the measurements on all your bolts. But everything's metric for the most part that I've found so far. You know, like I think 8 millimeter, 12 millimeters, very common, 14. So it's, you know, it's really, other than just kind of the tedious stuff of disconnecting everything, it's really not been that big of a deal thus far. I'm sure you're saying, yeah, Chris, well, you hadn't gotten into the hard stuff yet, which you're right, I'm sure. And here's the good thing. I'm not a mechanic. I am not a mechanic at all. I'm just a normal average guy who decided to get here and do this himself to save some money. Good thing about it is once I've done it once, I'll learn how to do it, and I'll be able to be confident in, you know, other things. But this is by far the biggest job I've ever attempted to do on a car. I mean, I've replaced clutches and things like that. But pulling an engine is just a bigger job. You're going to need yourself a good shop crane. I borrowed this one. It's 2.25 ton. Should have no problem pulling this out. The one thing that I'm not sure yet as to whether or not I'm going to have to do is to remove the grill, radiator, transmission cooler, you know, this bar and everything. Once I get ready to pull the engine out, I'm going to drop it down from the jack stands and try to get it as low as I can, and we'll see if I can clear the engine out without having to pull the front off. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to remove the hood. I mean, that's not a big deal. I mean, you're talking, what, 2-3 bolts on each side. Just a quick little thing I wanted to show you. My gas cylinders have just gone shot on this, and a cool little trick I found online. This other guy on YouTube, I forgot his name. I'll look it up and I'll mention that on here. But he basically just suggested to take a piece of PVC pipe and cut it to the length of your cylinder. And if you watch, you go up like that when you want to lower your hood, drop it down, and fix it like that when you keep your hood up. Guess what? No more buying gas cylinders. It's the stupidest design in the world, in my opinion, to put these things on a car. I mean, I don't know what the engineers were thinking. They must have had their heads up their asses or something. But a lot of car companies do it. They know it wears out, yet they continue to do it. and it just kind of makes you scratch your head. I mean, you know, you're talking 30 or 40 bucks. It's not like it's a huge profit for the companies to like, oh, we're going to make these so that they break and people have to keep buying them. I mean, it's not really that big of a profit thing. If they were going to make something that was going to break and people had to keep buying, why don't they make like the AC compressor break more often? Or, you know, although they do break kind of often. But regardless, yeah, engineers at Chrysler, you suck. Go back to ITT Tech and learn how to engineer a vehicle that's got a little bit more common sense features on it. Okay, seriously. Anyway, not dogging ITT Tech. Just saying, go back and learn how to fix stuff a little bit more reliably. Anyway, all right. So enough of my ranting. I'll get this all rest of the stuff popped off here, and I'll be back. Check back in here in a little bit. Okay. When getting everything undone from the motor, there's a couple grounding plugs that you have to disconnect from underneath on each side. If you're underneath it looking up on the right side, you've got one here, and then you've got one right there, right beside each other. That have to come off. And then on the left side, you've got one that comes off here, and I've already pulled the wiring harness for that one off. So if I back out, you can see they're going to be right there on the sides, right there on each side. Make sure you do those. Get your starter. You got to pop that off. And then here are your engine mounts. And I'm not sure exactly how yet I'm going to remove my engine mounts. I don't know if I'm going to pop them off at the frame or unbolt the mounts from the block or unbolt them from there. I really don't know. I think probably the easiest thing to do is going to be just to unbolt them from the block and hope that the new engine that I drop in matches up. So at this point, everything else is disconnected other than the engine mounts and my transmission. Transmission, let's see, I've got bolt there. I've got one on the other side behind the starter. And I'm sure that there's probably some at the top, probably two at the top. That's going to be the last part, I'd say, that's going to be the most challenging, but I think we'll get it done. So I'll check back in. As you can see, I popped my exhaust off already from the engine. That was actually not a very difficult thing to do. I mean, it was a pain in the butt to get to them initially, but if you do what I say as far as getting your Jeep completely off the ground where your axle drops, doing all of those other things, you know, everything from removing the exhaust to oil pan or any of that other stuff is so much easier. I know that you think to yourself, man, I don't want to have to go buy some stinking engine mounts or some stinking jack stands. I'll just get up underneath there and do it. Well, good luck. That's all I gotta say, because I tried that myself. I mean, I made some progress. I was feeling good. After about the second day, I thought, you know what? If I had just bought some jack stands and dropped the front end like everybody else said to do from the get-go, probably would have saved myself a lot of time and grief. That's all I'm saying. Do what you want to do. But, you know, I mean, people learn lessons. And an intelligent person learns from other people's mistakes. So, there you go.